of the internet. Welcome to part 1 of Introduction to Python. This series will be dedicated to helping people with no experience with Python to learn concepts to help them get better. And this course is also for beginners, as it will be a mini project at the end of each part. By the end of this video, we will have our own editor, we will learn many Python beginner concepts, and we will have made our own simple calculator. My name's Rowan. Hope you're doing well, and without further ado, let's jump right in. Before we start coding in Python, we need to, get Python. Opening your Google tab and go to python.org/downloads, where you can find any version of Python for Windows, Mac, Linux, Ubuntu, etc. You can see this yellow button that says download Python 3.12.5, and if I click it and save, I can see that Python has downloaded. So click on the exe and proceed with the installation. Yes, Python is now downloaded and you can proceed with IDLE, which comes with Python. IDLE is an IDE, or an integrated development environment, which means that it's a program tailor-made for us to code in it. There are many different IDEs, and my personal pick is VSCode. You can use IDLE, install VSCode or PyCharm by JetBrains with the links down below. Once you have downloaded your IDE, you can type it in the search bar and open it. Congrats! You now have your own coding environment. Now it's time for us to move on to the coding portion of this video. First, open a new file and name it whatever you want. I'll name it part1.py. Make sure you add .py to the end so the IDE knows that this is a Python file. By the way, make sure to take notes of these concepts and keywords that we're about to start with. So if you're stuck, you can always refer to your notes. Before we get to mathematical operators and conditional statements, we need to start with the most basic Python concept, printing. If you see the bottom of your IDE, you'll notice this blank area with some text. This is our terminal, where we will get the results of our code and later run different commands. If we use a print statement, whatever we type inside the parentheses of a print statement will show up in the terminal when we run our code. To make a print statement, we'll type print followed by a set of parentheses. Now if you want to show a number, you can just type it right in. But if you want a piece of text, you'll have to surround it in quotation marks. If you don't surround it in quotation marks, then an error can happen. So to make our text show, we'll type in a pair of quotation marks, and you can write whatever you want, but I'll write hello world. If we run our code, we can see that we get hello world in our terminal. Congrats, you have written your first Python code. Now, let's say that you outputted something to the terminal. How are you going to store what you wrote so you can use it again or modify it? Why? By using a variable. You can define a variable by typing in the name, followed by an equal sign, and then the value that you want to store. But there are some rules to your variable names, because you can't start your variable name with a number. Your variable name cannot have any other special characters besides underscores, and your variable names are case sensitive. So age with all caps and age with no caps are different variables. If you want to store the hello world text you just printed above the print statement, you can type, for example, text followed by an equal sign, and then copy and paste your text with the quotation marks after the equal sign. Now instead of the empty parentheses in your print statement, type in text and run your code again. We're referring to the variable, which has the hello world text, so when we print the value of the hello world variable, we still get hello world. Let's say you want to add a note to yourself in your code. To make a comment, go in a new line and then type a hashtag. Whatever you type after this will be ignored and will not run or count as an error. You can tell it's a comment because it is highlighted differently from the rest of your code. In my case, it is gray. Now, if we want to make a calculator, we need to learn how to add and subtract numbers. First, clear your code and make 3 variables, num1, num2, and sum. You could set num1 and num2 to whatever you want. In my case, I'll set num1 to 56 and num2 to 47. While for the sum variable, you'll type equals and then the names of the 2 variables with a plus sign in between, which means that this sum variable will automatically become the sum of these 2 numbers. Next, type print, followed by parentheses with the sum variable being inside. If you run this, you'll see that we're going to get the sum of the 2 numbers. If you have any quotation marks or letters in your numbers, remove them as they might cause an error. You can change the plus sign and it will change when you run it. But there's a problem. The answer from an input method is always text, or as it must be called, a string. Fortunately, there are some functions that can turn different types of variables to other types. Change the ask variable question to pick a number from 1 to 10. And change from ask in the print statement to type ask. This will show the type of the data that is in the print statement. Run the code and you'll see that we'll get, let's type in 5 and you'll get class str. That means that it is text and not an actual number that can be added or subtracted. To change it to a number, go to the input method and before the input add int and then open parenthesis. At the end of the input, add another closing parenthesis. Now run the code again. I'll once again choose 5, and this time we get class int. That's good because that means that we converted our text answer to an actual number. If you want to make decimal numbers instead, change the int to a float. Although that means that if you input an answer like 5, you'll get 5.0, but it doesn't make a difference since in Python it's fine to add or subtract decimals and full numbers. The final concepts you need to learn before you make a basic calculator are conditional statements. Conditional statements allow you to execute a snippet of code only if a certain condition is met. In your code, press enter after your ask variable so you make room for your condition, which in this case will check if your number is greater to or equal than 5. In the empty space type if, followed by ask, which is our number that we input, then type a greater than sign and then an equal sign, followed by 5 and then a colon. Put your cursor at the start of the print statement, and after that, type tab. Proper indentation is necessary in Python, as if you don't have proper indentation, then you can cause errors. After you've indented your print statement, instead of ask or type ask, you'll type in true. Then press enter and copy and paste this statement. But instead of if ask greater than or equal to 5, you'll remove the second one and type in else. That means that whatever is after this else when we execute if ask is smaller than 5, and in the second print statement, instead of true, you will write false. Now run your code and type a number. If it's greater than or equal to 5, for example 8, it'll show true. But if you run your code and type something smaller than 5, like 3, it'll show false. The time has come. We have explored all of these interesting and fun concepts, but now it's time to make the calculator. You can rest for 30 seconds before we begin. Okay, time is up. Clean your code. Defines 3 variables, num1, num2, and operator. For num1, make an input method surrounded by an int. So int, open parentheses, input, open parentheses, a set of quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks type enter first number. Copy and paste it into num2, but instead of enter first, make it into enter second number. Then copy paste it into operator, but instead of enter first number, you'll type enter operator. Remember, all text needs to have quotation marks around it. After that, make an if statement. In the if statement, write if operator, then 2 equal signs, and then type a set of quotation marks, type plus, and then colon. By the way, you need to, in the operator variable, you should remove the int, as the operator will always be a text answer. After this if statement, type enter, and then write print, open parentheses, num1 plus num2. Copy and paste this if statement 3 more times for the other 3 operators, which will be minus, then replace the print statement with minus to subtract, then in the third one put an asterisk, and in the print statement so it'll multiply, and in the fourth one add a slash instead of the plus so the numbers will divide. Now if we run our code, we can add, for example, enter first number 36, enter second number 54, enter operator, this will be a plus, and then we get 90. Run it again, we get 54, enter second number 36, enter operator minus, and we get 18. So our adding and subtraction works. Run it and enter 36, 54, and an asterisk, and it makes 1944, which is correct. And we run it one more time, enter first number 54, enter second number 36, enter operator slash, and we get 1.5, which is great. Congrats, you have officially made your own little calculator. Great job. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and comment so I can learn from your feedback. And I'll see you in part 2. Peace out.